This meeting is being recorded.
I will just start it. So good morning and evening, everyone, and welcome to VizConnect. So today we have Adam Mico with us, who will share how we can improve, create, and enhance our data visualization and storytelling portfolio in Tableau for free. So Adam is a senior data analyst for the state of Wisconsin. He has worked for the employer nearly 21 years in various roles, including a administrator, business analyst, quality control investigator, staff development coordinator. He has used Tableau for 5 years at work and became active in Tableau public and community the last several months after his most recent promotion to be involved in social media groups featuring a tool that gave him professional success and happiness and also tried to help positively impact a growing and increasing diverse Tableau community. His Tableau accomplishments include a Vizzy for Notable Newcomer and the Best Blog nomination. His Elvis Presley was the original UK Idol. Viz was featured as an asset by Tableau on all social media from promoting the Data Plus Music project. He's also a co-administrator for 5,000 member Tableau Magician Facebook group. The fun fact about him is that there is a Mico annual service in Weymouth, England, from an ancestor charity that still operates today. And he wrote a piece for this in 2019, and I can share that after the session. And he's planning to attend that particular event in 2020. So, Adam, welcome to VizConnect, and over to you.
Excellent, Sagar. Thank you for that great introduction. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to pop up the slideshow, and we can wait for the animations to pop through. So what my intent is today is to go over the slideshow, and then after the slideshow, talk about the resource in a little bit more depth and share some of the content from those resources. And if we have time, we could talk about some of the visualizations that are shared here. So as far as me, all of my best work is based on my work with the community. So anything that I achieved for the most part is in association with the community, and I want to share that with you and help you get the tools and the community access that you need. So here are the topics that are going to be covered. So we have how-to resources, finding data for personal visits, using and publishing Tableau on Tableau Public, and connecting on social media platforms. The thing that so as far as other things that we'll cover, I'll be happy to answer any of your questions afterward. But I just want to give you a brief introduction, a high-level introduction to this first. So the first one we're going to go through is blogs. And I'll go through the specific blogs and so forth in a bit, but there's so many things that you could do from your access to blogs, and they're all over the place on the internet. There's a massive blog compilation that will help you out so you could find which blog you want to go to. It's called Michael Sandberg's Data Visualization blog list. And again, that link will be available on the Google Share document that I'll send out to everybody later. I have a number of favorite blogs. One of my most favorite blogs is Tableau Magic, and he spoke at an earlier VizConnect. And that blog covers everything from inspirations, how-to for basically every level of data visualizer, auxiliary resources like SQL that will help you work with Tableau and get the most of Tableau, and also extensions. Another great blog is the Tableau twins, Ken and Kevin Floral. They recently combined forces to share great how-to blogs together. And it's just an excellent resource for anybody that wants to learn about using Tableau. And they have downloadable workbooks and everything that you need to work with. There's also an information lab blog that offers keen Tableau and Ultrix training with other software by a team of authors and practitioners. So it's a lot of people that contribute to that blog, and you'll learn a lot about that. Next up, we have video tutorials. So a lot of people like me like to watch something and then mimic the activity to get the best of, to learn how to do something. And there's a number of great video tutorials out there. One of them is Andy Kriebel's. He has a popular YouTube channel, which he shares a lot of how-to and tips for using Tableau. Tableau Software themselves have an excellent YouTube channel, which covers pretty much everything from how-to, speakers, conference information, and so forth. And then there's Super Data Science, and a lot of that is more complex visualizations, like custom visualizations, but they provide very good and easy to understand videos for you to learn about how to do some custom visualizations. The main series you'll want to begin with if you never really used Tableau before is the Tableau video training series. And again, this will be shared with the link, and I'll show you that a little bit later, but I just want to get you introduced to that. And they have a 7.5-hour training series that's really broken down very nicely, and I would consider it at a very high professional level to get you started with the application. So it's best sometimes to watch and learn before you play around with something, and that's a great opportunity to do that. Another great resource is Tableau Community Forums. That's a place where you can go if you have a question about how to use something or if you see an error with something. And oftentimes there are a lot of people out there really wanting to help you out. And they also want to make sure that you understand what you're doing, and they often provide examples for you so you could easily follow along. And it's a great place so you could search and find resolutions for the questions that you have. Another great source is Tableau Public's featured authors. So what they do is they coordinate some of the best authors out there that are that cover everything from data art to data analytics, and they break it down really nicely. And oftentimes those people have a lot of downloadable content, so you could kind of see exactly how they did it and get a lot of inspiration for creating data visualizations, as well as maybe answer some of your questions for your business requirements. And there's also actual data visualizations that are great resources. Some of those data visualizations, which will be covered explicitly in the Google Drive doc that I'll share with you, is TC19 recorded sessions. Lena Christia displayed 331 recorded Tableau sessions from the conference, and it's sorted by categories and rows, so you could and roles, so you could see exactly what you need to see very quickly. Kevin Florlage co-authored and compiled a Tableau chart catalog. It has over 100 charts on it, and all of the charts are downloadable, so you have the access you need to go ahead and check out the charts and play around with it. And oftentimes they're associated with a blog, or the blog is easily found how to recreate it if you do a quick Google search. And the last one I'll share that's an actual viz is Tableau Book of Calcs. So this was developed by Sarah Hamdan and Fuad Ahmed. It's a sensational resource because a lot of times we have to create calculations within Tableau. And those calculations can be complicated and solutions could be very hard to find. But in this resource that's an actual viz, everything's broken out for you on the actual viz, including calculations and everything. And it's smartly broken down by type of calculation and so forth. And I'll share that with you a little bit later. So now you're wondering, well, I have blogs, I have stuff that I could look at and resources to learn how to create vizes, but where do I find the data? And that's a question a lot of people have. But fortunately for us, there's a ton of great data sets out there for personal vizes. One of my favorite ones is Makeover Monday because it includes a new data set for each week, and it's cleaned up, and it's a community project, so a lot of people create vizes from that data set. Another place I look for data is Data.World and Kaggle. Data.world is a resource where you could search data sets, including Makeover Monday has a data set there. But it's not very well organized. Kaggle is a different story because they have a very nice organization on that site. And besides that, they have everything's indexed by usability. So you could see right away whether a data set's cleaned up, how usable it is, because there's a ranking on there from 1 to 10, sharing the usability score of the data set based on the community responses and reviews of that data set. So that's a good source to find data and work with the data. There's a number of other great public data sets. One of the other ones that I like to work with is public data. There's for the United States government, there's a data.gov, and there's so much public data available that you could use and work with. Information is beautiful is another one, and that's also going to be shared on the Google document. They have a bunch of data sets they use for their community, and you can go ahead and work with the data sets that they have. The primary one that you're going to use, and we'll talk about a little bit later, is the Tableau one itself. So you have the data, you have the tools to work with, but you need to be able to publish and work with the Viz. So there's a lot of great things with Tableau that's helpful. You could go ahead and download the desktop application for free for 2 weeks for every version that's released. So you could download it once for version 10.1, and if 10.2 rolls around, you have 2 weeks to use it, but if you have 10.2, you could reuse the 2 weeks again. And that's been helpful to a lot of people because they could go ahead and access data visualizations and download them. If you're a student, you have 1 year free for desktop, and I'll share the link to that as well. So if you're a student or an educator, you do have a lot of free access to Tableau Desktop, which is the full-scale application for creating vizes and doing pretty much everything you can with it. Tableau Public is great because it's free. It's almost identical to the usability of the Tableau Desktop. The limitations are is that you can't download workbooks, really use extensions, or and some of the things that you can connect with are a little bit less than what you would have with Tableau Desktop. But as far as learning and for training purposes, it's an awesome resource. Another thing with Tableau Public is that you have 10 gigabytes of space to create a viz and publish it. And most vizes are maybe 5 megabytes or less. So if you have 10 gigabytes to work with, that's so much that you could work with to learn and play with. Another thing that people don't recognize right away is that you could hide your visualizations. If you are using Tableau Public and you want to, you don't want to share your viz with everybody in the world, you can go ahead and select hide on that Tableau Public viz. And what will happen is that nobody will be able to access that viz unless you share them to direct link. So that's a great resource. So if you're playing around with the data visualization and you want to learn from it, or you just have something that you want to keep and have access to, you can go ahead and hide it and access it whenever you need it. And that's basically about it for, okay. Oh, I saw a message from Cigar. So basically, if there's any sort of issues with audio, just go ahead and give Cigar a question. So when you're sharing visualizations and so forth and working with Tableau, oftentimes you want to work with people and get feedback and so forth. The best way to do this is to engage in social media. This is a place where people will see your data visualizations, where you have access to a lot of projects and so forth that are very helpful for you, and so forth. The biggest social media platform right now for the Tableau community in a lot of respects is the Twitter. And oftentimes you would search either hashtag DataFam or hashtag Tableau, and you can go ahead and see more of that. LinkedIn is another community, and oftentimes you just look for hashtag Tableau, and then you could find whatever you need there. And there are also Facebook groups. Since this is a very important thing, and since if you don't want to create data visualizations in a vacuum, it's very important that you go out and you look for other sources of inspiration and feedback to get the most you can out of your public portfolio. So I'm going to spend a little bit more time on the Twitter part because that's very confusing to a lot of people, especially the Twitter community is very English oriented. It's an international audience, but primarily English is the language. I know that could be complex and difficult for people to work through, but the community wants to engage and want you to be part of it. So don't worry if your English isn't great, we'll work with you. There's a lot of people that have English as a second, third, or even fourth language, and we work with them and they excel in the community. So in order to go ahead and make sure that you get noticed on Twitter, here's a couple steps I'm going to share with you. And these steps are primarily based off of an adaptation of Tuan Wang's 12-step program for 2020. He spoke a little bit earlier, but since then, right in the beginning of the year, he created a great blog post which shared a lot of stuff that's very helpful for the community, and that will be part of what I'll share in my Google documentation. So first of all, if you're on Twitter, if you already have an account, I would create a new account that's primarily data focused. So you don't want to post a bunch of pictures of food, music, or videos. You just want to keep it data focused. That way people will look at your account and want to work with you and not look at stuff that they're not really interested in. Search data, hashtag DataFam and hashtag Tableau. When you search those hashtags, you'll see a lot of people out there. And with those people out there, there's also a lot of content out there. So when you find people, look for people of interest to you. So people that are involved in the community, people that develop vizzes, people that create blogs and whatnot. And then oftentimes I would suggest you look at who they follow, and then you could follow them as well, because oftentimes the people they follow have similar interests and could help you out a lot. Look for posts that you like and like them, click the like button on them. Retweet or share posts that you enjoy. Again, since it's a data focused account, you'll want to share items related to Tableau or data visualization for the most part. So that would be helpful to help build your account. Comment on what you like or see. So if you like something, it could be simple as, I love it. So pretty much like that, just it helps people know that you're out there. And if people recognize that you're out there and interested in the DataFam community, what will happen is that you'll get people that want to follow you right away and want to engage with you. And sometimes people are a little bit afraid to talk with people in public or comment with people in public. It's very well known in the community that we can direct message each other. And it's not looked at as invasive. In fact, it's looked at as a great thing because you can have a private conversation and connect with people that you follow. And oftentimes that will help you get noticed. If you want to be part of something bigger, they could help you find better resources. They could share your account with the community so you could get more people to look at your content and follow you. So with the other primary social media platforms, we have the Facebook and LinkedIn strategy that's probably it's a little bit more complex than Twitter because of how the social media is set up. So I'm going to go over a couple bits of each for you. So with Facebook, there's a lot of Tableau related groups out there, but oftentimes many of them have spam. So and they oftentimes have stuff that says, ping me, I need you if you want training. And you really have no idea what content you're getting and what you're paying for. And since there's so many free resources out there for you, it's very important that you are smart about where you engage on Facebook for groups, because the group I'm involved with, and that's the only one I could speak to, is the Tableau Magicians Facebook group. That group goes with, looks at content, curates it, and makes sure that there's no spam or trolls in the community. So that's important. You could also follow Tableau on Facebook group, Tableau Software on Facebook group, and they could share a lot of great content too. Just make sure that when you're involved in Facebook, and I can't stress this enough, is that you don't fall in a trap where somebody direct messages you or tells you to ping them, and then you go ahead and fall into a trap and spend a lot of money for something you could probably get better for free. LinkedIn. LinkedIn, pretty much everybody with a professional account is on social media as a part of. It's more of a generalized community. It's not a community like Twitter is, as I mentioned, where it's not as much engagement, but it's more of a generalized community for sharing content, sharing great blogs and so forth. Just look for the Tableau hashtag, and just remember that if you don't want a full community experience, LinkedIn is a very good starting point for that. So the great thing about the Tableau community is that there are a ton of projects out there to help you get better with data visualization. One of the primary ones, which I mentioned a little bit earlier, and which you heard a lot about in the prior week or so, was Makeover Monday. Again, because of the weekly data sets. If you're involved with the community, there's a lot of people sharing their vizzes based on the data set that you'll have an access to, and you can see what they do and get very inspired by their work. Iron Quest. Sarah Bartlett has a project, and she's a Tableau ambassador, and it's a supportive community helping you learn to work with unique data sets, finding your own, and creating extensive viz based on that with her and usually somebody else providing excellent feedback. And then she also blogs about it, talks about the content, and features everybody makes a submission and works very hard on this project. So it's a good place to start if you're not ready to submit something for an Iron Viz feeder, but feel that your skill set is improving and that you want to go in that direction someday. Next up is Project Health Viz, and that's Lindsay Betzendahl. And what she does is it's another monthly project like Iron Quest, where she finds data, she curates that data and cleans it up and makes sure that, and she introduces it with a blog post usually. And then like Sarah, she works with the people that make submissions, provides feedback on their content, and helps people create stronger visualizations. Oftentimes these visualizations are more in depth than the normal visualization that you'll get in Makeover Monday, but it's good for learning and to get much better at building dashboards and or creating more extensive visualizations. A couple others that I'll mention real quick and that we'll revisit once we get into the Google Doc part is Sports Viz Sunday. So that's a Sunday project where people use their own data sets primarily and create data visualizations for pretty much any sport under the sun. Workout Wednesday is a project run to share an exercise that's usually a more complicated function in Tableau, or and try to recreate that using special techniques and special rules that they have. Again, that link will be shared as well. Tableau Tip Tuesday is a fun project that shares little tips for you and hacks, if you will, to get something more out of the tool, and oftentimes a lot more quickly. Viz for Social Good. So there's projects that are out there solely intended to help you create data visualizations with impact, and Viz for Social Good is one of those projects. Prep and Data is another resource that you have the opportunity to work with, and it helps you create create a data and update data using Tableau Prep, and it gives you tools to work with and examples. An SWD challenge is story with data. So oftentimes when we're creating business dashboards and so forth, we tell a story, but it's not so much of a story as getting the information across. But sometimes you need to create a story to help people understand and gain more insight. So that's a great project for that. Since there are so many projects out there, don't get overwhelmed. Find the project that you really want to work with and start working with that as soon as you feel comfortable doing that. And again, as I mentioned before, when you work in Tableau Public, if you're not comfortable with sharing your data visualization out there and all you have is a public app, you could always hide your visualization. So whenever you have an opportunity to work with somebody out and create a data visualization together, I would say you definitely should go for that. Oftentimes it's people don't know how to collaborate or work with people with collaboration, but people out there are asking for collaborators if you're involved with the community. And also if you direct message people and ask them if after you have a little engagement with them, if they want to collaborate with something, that's a great idea. Generally, I tend to work with people that have a slightly different skill set than mine, so I could learn something a little bit more from what they're doing, and maybe you could share a little bit of your talent with them as well so they could see something else. It really helps you form bonds because when you work with people that you don't have to work with, it's very helpful and it's a great experience because you're working together and it's completely voluntary and fun. You have the opportunity to learn a bunch of new skills and techniques. Again, if you're collaborating with people, it's helpful to collaborate with people with slightly different skill sets than yours so you could gain something and learn something from them. And when you create a vision and present it to the public, you're generally going to like the viz that you create because oftentimes it's better than something you could do on your own. At least that's in my experience. And you have the opportunity to celebrate together with somebody when you're really happy with the viz. It's fun to celebrate a good viz on your own, but it's even better when you have somebody to celebrate it with. And parting notes on the actual PowerPoint. So just remember, there are many free resources for every skill level out there. So it can be a little overwhelming, but what I'm sharing with you is more of a starter pack, and then you can work from there to see which works for you best. Before you look for paid services and so forth, I would look through the free resources first because you want to save money. And what's better than learning a great new skill set and not having to spend a dime on it? But if you do go the route where you want to find a paid training site, what I would do is I would look for something with reviews. One of the common places for Tableau training that's paid is Udemy, UDEMY, and they have reviews on the training material and so forth. So oftentimes I would look for stuff with a lot of reviews and a lot of good reviews before I even consider looking and going in and paying for the content. But again, there's no reason you have to do it and pay money for that. Focus on improving your weakest areas. So if you've been visualizing data for a long time, as I have at work, oftentimes what happens is that you generally do a lot of the same things over and over. So you don't get a chance to develop your skill set in other areas that may be of interest to you. For example, I like to work with a lot of maps, but I don't get to do that a lot at work. So I would consider that a weak area before because, again, it's not something I would have done at work, but it's something that you could have fun with and work with a little bit more and get inspired to do more and create fun data visualizations out of it. The thing is that you want to have fun when you're developing your portfolio, and there's so much fun to be had when you're creating data visualizations, sharing with the community, and engaging with the community. If I had known that years ago, I would have participated much earlier. But now, since I do realize that, it's such a great thing, and it gives me a sense of hope, and something I could look forward to every day is that I could see great data visualizations from people I admire, and I can connect with a lot of people. The data fam wants you. So engage with the community to share, learn, and have fun. So you want to, so don't be afraid to reach out to people in our community, because we're here to help you out and help you get your foot into our community and give you access to whatever you need access with. We're here for questions. We're here if you want to blow off steam and via direct messages, but not too much. But again, we're here to help and make it a little bit better for you. I would strongly advise you to participate in special projects that share data sources. The reason is because you could see so many great things from so many data visualizers out there, like Makeover Monday, Iron Quest, Project Health Viz, and Sports Viz Sunday, just to name a few. Do we have any questions before we go into the Google document?
Hey Adam, so there is one question about will you, so people are asking about, can they see with respect to your current work which you have done, like when you started and what you have reached so far in your Tableau journey?
Sure. I could jump to that right away. 1 second. And mind you, I started producing stuff on Tableau Public after working working on my own at work for 4 years, but oftentimes it's because of but I don't do a lot of stuff that I would do in Tableau Public. So what I'll do is I'll go down to my very first viz I published and then share the viz that I'm most proud of. So this one is a good example of that. So this kind of looks cool and it's fun and you can get insight from it. It's a music viz showing music from 1983. But the thing I notice right now that makes me a little nervous is look at all this color. It's just too much color and it's hard to see what's going on here. So I have so many different color charts. There's red and green, which is bad because there's colorblind people out there that have really difficult time discerning what is what here. There's a lot of maps and charts and so forth, but it doesn't provide a lot of insight except the big picture. And then I have a bunch of stuff here that's just clutter that I would never do now. So this is an example of something that was fun that I wanted to play with, but it wasn't something that I would consider good now, but it was something different than what I would normally do at work. So the tooltips, I like to tell stories of my tooltips now. They're just general basic tooltips with a lot of weird text, a lot of red and green, tree maps that don't offer a lot of helpful information. And I have no idea what the points really mean here. So that was something that would have been helpful to explain here, but people are looking at points and be like, I don't know what you mean by this. So I'm going to jump into one of my favorite vizes that I created. That's also a music viz. So this is data navigation. What I found out when I was researching the data was that in UK and the US, Elvis had a lot more hit songs in the UK than the US, which really surprised me because he always toured in the US and never toured in the UK. And what I did here is it gives you an opportunity to click on a version of Elvis. So you have Young Elvis, GI Elvis, Hollywood Elvis, Comeback Elvis, and Elvis on Tour, and then play music from that as well. So for example, here the color is a lot more clear. So you basically have three colors here. It's teal, gold, and dark gray. So it highlights everything that needs a highlight. I have information here to explain what the points mean. It's clear to see what region we're looking at because I have UK here, I have USA here. And if I click on here, it changes the song right away. So you can go ahead and play the song. It also gives you some nice charting here that tells you which are his most popular songs in the UK and which are the most popular songs he had in the USA. In addition to that, it gives you more insight because you could see how well he did through the years in the United States. And let me unclick this real quick. So you could see how well he did through the years with UK and US based on each year. And then you have a running total. So you could clearly see that he was pretty much in his entire career, he had more success in UK than he had in the USA. And another thing here is then there's more information here to help you understand what the points mean in case you didn't check out this chart. And another thing is if you click on this, because to conserve space, I was able to build in charts based on these selections here. So if I select Young Elvis, it's going to change the information here. GI Elvis, it's going to change the information here, tell you the songs and give you a nice information about that in the tooltips, as opposed to just giving you generic boring tooltips. And let me just share one more of the vizes I really like that could be helpful as well. So I like to work with maps, as I explained a little bit earlier. So this is a nice chart and map that shows the density of crime in Boston, Massachusetts, in the United States, based on violent crime. So it's very interactive. So if you select afternoon, for example, it's going to change the density of the map. It's going to change all the incidents. If I select morning, things change in the map as well. And if you hover over the map, you have a story of what went on with that specific incident. And also you could use filters here as well. You'll notice a lot of public visualizations, there aren't too many filters because of the interactivity, but sometimes if you have a lot of data, it's very helpful to work with filters. And this shows you incidents by day of the week, weekend versus weekday crime, looking at year-over-year crime from from January 1st of 2016 through August 15th, because that data ended August 15th of 2019. So I want to look at year-over-year for the same period of time. So that's a good point, is that when you're working with data, just make sure you're covering same things, so you don't try to measure things that are not appropriate to measure. So for example, if I had 2019 here, and there was only August 15th, there would be a lot more crimes here for January 1st through December 31st for 2016, 2017, and 2018. Any more questions on that?
So there is one question: how are the color circles distributed over Boston?
Oh, okay. That's a great question. So what I used here is a density map. So the more incidents there are, the darker it is. So I thought I had that down here, but basically, if it's darker, that means there's more incidents. That's usually what you get with a density map. If it's lighter, that means there's less incidents. And if you see just the blank dark gray map, that means there are no incidents based on the selection that you had. Good question. I'll add the color code to the map. And thank you for sharing that. Any more questions?
Adam, I have just one question.
Oh, sure.
So can you talk about how exactly when you get a data set, what are the three things you do just to before getting into Tableau, right? Is that you do a rough sketch or do you do some planning? Just wanted to talk about that. Yeah.
Oh, sure. So when you're working with the data visualization, oftentimes you may have an idea of what you want to do and how you want it to look like on a data viz. So you might want to draw it out on PowerPoint, and that would be or on a piece of paper, and that would be called wireframing. So you just plot out what you want to see and how you want it to set up. Look at the charting that you want to look at and determine what charts would work well with the data that you're working with. But oftentimes you don't know how the data is going to shape out until you play around with it in Tableau. So one of the things I do first is pop the data and put it into Tableau, and it tells me what it wants me to do with it, and then I can go from that to creating something on PowerPoint or drawing it on a piece of paper what I want to see it become, because that's important to do, because if you don't do that, you run into a risk of having a lot of weird space, having a lot of clutter, and making sure that it's important, making sure that what you see is what you want to convey. So a lot of it is looking at the data itself and saying, hey, I want to show this, I want to highlight this feature, and this chart would highlight it the most, and that you would want to make that the centerpiece. And then you work from there to fill out the data visualization. A good rule of thumb is, unless you want to make an extensive viz, you don't want to make a viz with a lot of scrolling. So you want to keep it on a standard screen size unless you have a lot of data that you want to share. So you really have to factor that with it too. So do I have a lot of information that I want to share? If I don't have too much information I want to share, can I keep it onto one screen without scrolling? So that's an important thing, because a lot of people don't like to scroll if they don't have to. So having it in one nice place, not having to use filters, using charts and so forth to be able to filter data is very helpful for a lot of people. So I would look to that and keep that in mind. And that would kind of be where I would go. But oftentimes you're looking at the data and you don't know what the data tells you or tells you what you want it to create until you play around with it in Tableau a little bit and then go back to the drawing board. Good question.
No.
More questions? So now we'll jump into the sheet that I have here. One second. So associated with this, and Cigar, are you going to are you going to publish this as part of the video or put it somewhere for them to
Yeah.
access? Okay, great.
So you can share the link with me. I can just go ahead and share it with everyone. Yeah.
It's I shared it with you on the what you call it, LinkedIn.
LinkedIn. Okay, perfect. I will just take it from there. Sure. Yeah.
So this Tableau resources list that I put together, covering a lot of the stuff that I went through on the PowerPoint, but gives you access to specific links and so forth to work with. So one of the great things I mentioned very early in this discussion was Michael Sandberg's data visualization blog list. And if you click on that, it gives you a lot of, it gives you all the blogs that are curated by him, gives you the name of the blog, the author, and the site, and whether there's an RSS feed. And most of these blogs are generally how-to blogs. So it gives you an opportunity to work with, see what you want to work with, and look at the people that interest you and inspire you, and research them as well. So these are, there's well over 100 blogs here, but many of these are very good blogs. So I would encourage you to play around and navigate through the site to see what blog you want to follow and what gives you a lot of excitement. I also shared a few of my favorite how-to blogs, and one mentioned here is Tableau Magic. So this is really curated well. So you could see pretty much everything and how organized it is. So you have, it's broken down by all advanced, intermediate, or novice. So you have a lot of applications here to work with. You could look at developer stuff. So if you're developing, you could use extensions, JavaScript, Tableau UI, web data. There's a YouTube channel that he started to put together that shares YouTube information and provides other data information. So this is very easy to navigate and work through, and it gives you a lot of good information to help you with a lot of different things. The other one I mentioned in the beginning was the Floral twins. January 1st or thereabouts, they combined forces, and they're two of the greatest members of our community. Ken is Zen Master, and Kevin's a Tableau ambassador. So they create a bunch of different posts, some basic how-to, some more advanced stuff, and then some stuff for inspiration. So I strongly encourage you to access this blog because that's definitely one you'll want to follow. And the information lab, this is the one with, now it's showing me different stuff. I'm sorry, it's showing me something not in English, so I apologize right now. But this is a great blog with a lot of different people to help you understand and work with data that you, in Tableau and Alteryx that you want to work with. There's a number of YouTube tutorials. This one obviously is a big one, and that's Tableau Software. They have a great YouTube page with a lot of playlists and a lot of stuff that you could look at and get excited about and work and learn from, especially stuff from, I'm sorry, my web page is going a little bit slow here. There's literally thousands of videos featuring so many different things that you could look at and organize in playlists. So stuff that interests you, you can go ahead and jump onto and look at and get inspiration from. So I highly encourage anybody to subscribe to Tableau Software one. And Andy Kriebel, he has, as mentioned earlier, he does have a very, very strong YouTube site as well. So he blogs, but he also has great tutorials here that gives you so many different things to work with and gives you so many different tips and so forth. So there's so much inspiration from here, and he has a ton of subscribers because people love seeing what he comes up with. And it's so many different tips for every level of Tableau user. And Super Data Science, I'm not going to click on that link now, but basically that's more of the advanced Tableau features, but provided in a way that's very easy to understand. Tableau Community Forums is a great place to get answers to all of your questions that you need. So if you want to search something like how do I do this or how do I do that, you could do that. You could jump to forums, you could jump to user groups and look at ideas. So if you find something that you don't think is available in Tableau, you could point that out and they really listen to you. This part is great because you have the Tableau featured authors. They give you so much inspiration. So you look at their vizzes and you could break down what interests you and what you want to look at for inspiration. Many of them are downloadable. Obviously, I would encourage anybody not to download and repost as their own, but it's fine to download to look at to see how they did something to inspire you to do something similar. Because oftentimes you have business requirements that come back, and it's like they may, the person asking for them may have seen something from a specific author. So it's a great opportunity if you have a desktop to look at what they did and break it down from there. And they update this list frequently. And I believe there's like 40 authors and so forth with so many great data visualizations. And a great resource too is that there are people, as mentioned in the beginning, that have actual data visualizations that are usable as resources. So this example right here breaks down all the TC19 recorded sessions, and it breaks it down by, is it for everyone? Is it for beginner? Who is it intended to for, and who is it submitted by? So who presented? What type of session it is, and what it promotes, and what's the type of job that it's intended for. So for example, you may want to look at analyst stuff, and then you can go ahead and link to that particular session. So that's a great resource, especially because there's so much content in the TC19 stuff, and I'm very thankful for Tableau for recording all of that and also including that information for everybody to use. This is such a help. This is the Tableau chart catalog. So this was a list compiled and co-authored by Kevin Floral, and pretty much every sort of chart that's imaginable. So there's 100 charts here that you could actually even search by. So if you want area chart, you can go and click on that. And then if you have the desktop application, you can go ahead and, one second. You can go ahead and download the workbook and see how they created that chart. And there's 100 examples of that, and pretty much anything that you would ever need for a business requirement would be included in that catalog. The other one is the Tableau Book of Calculations, because in Tableau, especially for business purposes, we have to do a lot of calculations within Tableau. I prefer to do as much as I can on the back end, but oftentimes you still need to do calculations in Tableau. So this is a great resource to help you learn how to create calculations with examples showing how the calculations are done as well and what they're used for. So it has an entire calculation out here based on the example. So there's an example. So how do I build this? So I have so it gives you the formulas that you need or the calculations you need to make it happen. Going to the free public data sets. This one I highly encourage you use. There's hundreds out here now. I think there's like 150 or something that you can work with, and they're all pre-cleaned for the most part, and they range from very easy data sources to work with to complex data sources. So if you're looking for data to work with, to be inspired by, to create data visualizations for fun, I would definitely go to Makeover Monday's data sets to play with, because you'll have a lot of opportunity to do that. I mentioned earlier Lindsay Bettensol's Project Health Viz, and she cleans up her data and she organizes it in her data.world site. So you have access to data that's used for her data set, her monthly challenges. So it's a lot of fun to work with the data that she has because this is a little bit more complex usually than the data that you're working with the Makeover Monday stuff. So if you want to step up your game in data analytics, you may want to play around with this, but fortunately these are very much pre-cleaned and worked on quite a bit before it gets to you. And the site I like to work with, if I run out of ideas with the other stuff, which is highly unlikely, but I guess it could happen, and if I want to get inspired by something else, pop open. A little slow to open up. I'm sorry, it's not opening up right now, but take my word for it. They're categorized by how clean the data is and how workable it is to work with. So it's very helpful to know whether you want to dig into it or not dig into it. And government data is very helpful too, because oftentimes that's cleaned up and you have so many different types of data sets to work with. And a lot of them are available and downloadable by CSV or Excel, which is very helpful to connect for Tableau purposes. And oftentimes you could see visualizations associated with that data as well. And there's a few other great sources of data here. So just know that you have, there's just so much inspiration and so much to play with here that you should never, ever run out of ideas to work with. The next up is the Tableau link. So if you want to download Tableau right away, you could simply download the application, the desktop application, use it for 2 weeks if you're just a regular person like me, or if you're a student, you could use it for a full year for free, and I have a link to that as well. And links to the social media sites, which you probably shouldn't need links for, but it's important that you have them. And finally, before we wrap up, because it looks like it's close to 8 o'clock, here's the 12-step program by Tableau Magic that was very helpful as far as helping you get started with the community. So I very much encourage you to go through that as well. It's similar to this, but there's some more things here to show you people to follow, Tableau forums and what to do in the Tableau forums, social media, more stuff on Twitter to look for, more stuff on LinkedIn, Facebook, and engagement. Any questions?
I'm just checking that, Adam. We are good.
Very good.
Yeah. So I think, first of all, thanks a lot, Adam, for sharing everything with us. And I think this particular document will help us to go ahead and learn how exactly we can take our Tableau journey ahead. So thanks a lot, Adam. And I think just last thing I have to share, let me just do that quickly. So where people can go ahead and find this session, I will just take the.
One quick thing I want to add before that part is I want to share on the next VizConnect, I mentioned Iron Quest, and Sarah Bartlett is going to be presenting on that one. I had the opportunity to witness her present it live last week in Cincinnati, and it was a very, very good presentation, a lot of fun. And you should definitely check that out because there's a lot of inspiration to be had in a project she's very passionate about and the community itself is very passionate about. So if you ever wanted to create something at some point for Iron Viz feeder, this is a great starting point in a safe space with a great community to work with.
Perfect. So on 31st January, I will go ahead and send you the invite. So we'll have Sarah with us. We'll talk about Iron West. So thanks a lot, Adam, for that. So all the sessions on the VizConnect will be available on Tableau Learning Path, which is there, and it's for you to use on the Tableau public profile. I will go ahead and just share the link. So it's for everyone. So if you want to go ahead and start using Tableau, if you want to go ahead and start using Prep, everything is over here. And we also have VizConnect. And the best part of VizConnect is that all the videos are available for you guys to go ahead and use it. So Adam's session will also come up by tomorrow over here. So go ahead, use it. Adam has shared good resources with you. So I think that should help you a lot to increase your Tableau and data visualization portfolio. And the last thing is that we have a LinkedIn group on VizConnect. So if you want to connect with us, you want to connect with the community, attend the sessions which we are hosting, just go ahead and join this group. I will just go ahead and post these on the chat so that you can bookmark it. So I have posted the Tableau learning path. I have also posted LinkedIn group, which is there. So thanks a lot for joining. Thank you, Adam. It was great to have you on VizConnect, and have a great week ahead. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you so much, Sagar. It was a lot of fun.
Thank you, Adam. Bye-bye.